right, so let's go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome. We have our team here with us today. So we first just want to say hello. My name is Erin, and I'm so excited to be with you here today. We also have Kerri Hennen, who is the Executive Director of American Virtual Academy with us. Hi,
Good
Kerri.
evening and good afternoon.
Hello. And so first of all, just want to give a little introduction to AVA, especially for those who are new here. So American Virtual Academy is our fully online Cognia-accredited K through 12 private school that combines world-class curriculum, innovative technology, and tuition-free enrollment through ESA, along with personalized support for every student. And we can't wait to share more with you throughout the evening and afternoon. To get started, I'd love to introduce Kerri. So hello, Kerri, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, Erin.
Yes, and would love to share a little bit about your bio. So Kerri Hennen is an accomplished educational leader with over 22 years of experience advancing student achievement and teacher development. With a strong background in online learning, Kerri has held leadership roles, including curriculum developer, math department chair, lead teacher, and instructional coach at two of the nation's largest virtual K-12 education providers. She is currently the executive director of AVA, American Virtual Academy, which is what we're here to talk about tonight. And Kerri champions flexible, rigorous, and personalized learning. She is known for leveraging digital platforms and research-based strategies to drive student success. So welcome again, Kerri, and thanks for being here with us.
Thank you. And
We
thank you
also
for being here as well, because I know that it's extremely hard, whether you're working or trying to wrap up dinner and get ready for the next work day. So thank you all for making the commitment to be here. Your time is a commodity you can't get back. So I greatly appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, we would love to answer them. So please go ahead and pop them in the chat. We have our team members on with us, Tracy and Brad, who will be answering questions as we go. And then we also have a special Q&A. Hello, Tracy. We also have a special Q&A box if you want to go ahead and drop any questions there. And feel free to ask us as we go, and we will be sure to answer your questions. I know Kerri would be happy to as we move along. Yeah. Okay, so to get started, Kerri, we'd love to know a little bit more about you. So we have some fun little icebreakers. So the first one is, what is a book, show, or podcast that you've been obsessed with lately?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I'm actually currently reading for, I have a teenager and a preteen. And as a mom, they don't want to hear what I have to say. So I'm actually reading, it's called Keep It Shut, What to Say, How to Say It, and When to Say Nothing at All. You can't see. It's
Yeah.
great, actually. And then podcast wise, I am an Ohio State Buckeye fan. And Jim Tressel, currently former coach, is now the lieutenant governor of Ohio. So he has a podcast and it's all about the team. And it really is about team leadership skills, how to really get everybody motivated and what it takes. So I am definitely obsessed with his podcast right now.
Love that. I've never heard of it, but sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one, very fun. What is your go-to karaoke song or the one that you secretly wish that you could nail or get really good at?
Uh, I would say probably anything from Journey, just because I'm an 80s kid. And so listening to my parents. Although I will say It Takes Two from Rob Bass. If I could get like all the rapping down correctly, my kids would love that. They do laugh at me for that. So yes, we
Love
like
that.
to do Friday night dance parties at our house. We've been doing it since my almost 16-year-old was one. So
Oh, I love that. That is super fun. What is a small thing that instantly makes your day better?
sunshine.
Yes.
Originally a Florida girl, so anytime I can see the sun, be out in the sun, even if it's for 5 minutes right in the morning as I'm drinking my coffee, I'm
Yeah.
good to go.
I was going to say, coming from Florida, I'm sure. Yeah, you love that. Tracy dropped a little emoji because she's in Florida too. Okay, so is there anything else that you would like to share about yourself, Kerri, before we get started with some questions?
I would like to say that again, like I know education is huge. This is probably one of the biggest decisions we have to make as parents. I have an upcoming sixth grader, so we're actually rounding out the 11 years of elementary school this week. So with an upcoming sixth grader and then a daughter going into junior year, I can probably empathize with a lot of families about educational decisions because we've had to make a lot our own as parents. And I'm going to get really passionate here, and that's why. Not only because I'm trained in education and have been in the online education industry for over 16 years, but having two children and knowing what's out there for them and
Yeah,
being able to make those decisions. So I'm just going to warn everyone, I do get a little passionate.
good. We're here for it.
Why?
We're here for it.
Yeah,
Yes. So I would love to ask you some questions if you're ready.
absolutely.
And again, this webinar is called Meet AVA. So we're going to dive into American Virtual Academy and what it's all about. And we can't wait to share more. And Kerri obviously is an expert as the executive director. So the first question is, with so many online school options, what sets American Virtual Academy apart from others?
That's actually an awesome question. I would definitely say, first and foremost, we are about empowering our families and our students. I think a lot of times as schools, we have this set curriculum, which obviously, as a private school and accredited school, you have to have a set curriculum. But it's getting the student voice and the parent voice in, empowering you all, and then partnering with you all so we can have your child succeed. And so, whether that's personalization in regards to individual learning plans, whether that's individualization for modifications, or maybe you have a child athlete who needs a different schedule, or you don't want to start in August because you grew up starting school in, after Labor Day. So just taking that individualization and personalization and empowering the families to make the best decisions for their child is probably one of the biggest things that sets us apart. I would also say the relationships that you're building coming from public school, growing up in public school, and then going into the online world. I think that was one of the biggest questions I had even 16 years ago.
Mhm.
And to see the relationships that my students and my teachers and the families that I build relationships with has just been awe-inspiring. And I think that that's one thing that even in staff meetings, I always ask our teachers, what would you want better for our school? And this is something that we even ask our families, like, what could we do better as a school? So what would you do better as a school? What's your dream? How can we implement that? And what's something that we need to work on? So we are always striving to even make those relationships stronger. But like I said, the relationships that my teachers have, where we have students who've already graduated and they're still contacting us, letting us know, like, for example, we had one soccer player, she was at Ole Miss. Now she's the goalkeeper for University of Tennessee. Her keeping us on her journey, even after she's left us 2 years ago, is just an amazing thing that I didn't think it was possible in the online schooling. And it definitely is if you put the right people and the heart into it.
Yeah, and we know the power of community. We know the power of connection and relationship. So that's amazing that you're able to continue that relationship even after
Yeah.
throughout their journey. So that's wonderful. You touched on this a little bit, but how does the school work? How does AVA work? Are the courses self-paced? Are they live? And do children need to be in front of the computer at a certain time of day?
So basically, what we do is, again, we have open enrollment, or what we like to call continuous enrollment. You can say, like, I would like to start this Monday, and then your child has those 18 weeks for a semester. We do have, because we are very personalized and very flexible, we have some students who are even on trimester. So again, that is having that conversation with the parent and the student to see what's best for them. So that's the first thing. The second thing is with that flexibility, you can learn anywhere, anytime, any place. We have students who are playing amateur soccer in Germany. I have families who are based in Kuwait. I have families in Arizona, Texas, Guatemala, Brazil, so several different places. So we do not have a set time that you have to be on the computer at 9 a.m. Mountain Time or 9 a.m. Central Time. It really is asynchronous. And then when a student needs help, what is great about our program is that that student could either email their teacher, text their teacher, and that teacher will get on live with them and help them individually. So that's the biggest thing, that we make sure that we are available to our students. That is an expectation that my teachers have, and that's something that they believe in as well, is if a student is stuck on an assignment and they need help, the best time to help them is right then when they contact us. So that's one of the things. We also, our teachers are always providing that frequent, personalized academic feedback. So it's going to obviously look different for math compared to English. What I love about our English teacher is she actually gives the rubric prior to them doing a writing assignment. So if you have a high schooler and they're dreading those awful writing assignments. I was a math person, so I didn't love writing. What I love that Mrs. Mills does is she's giving that rubric already to them, so they know how to guide their writing. What is she looking for? And then again, we also let them, retake tests, redo assignments. So we are completely flexible. And again, it's about supporting their academic success and their personal pursuits. With us having a lot of ballet dancers and athletes, we have to make sure that we're flexible for them so that they can pursue their dreams.
So that leads right into our next question. Maybe you can speak more to this, but for children who are competitive athletes, for instance, if my child is a competitive ballet dancer, how would their training schedule be affected?
So, and I think that's great. It's not affected. What I usually do with families is speaking to them. I want to know, what is their training schedule like? And then from there, we have some students who are very, and I would say a lot of them are our ballet dancers. They're very type A, organized. They know what their schedule is. This is when they're getting online. And then I have other students who, a lot of times, freshmen or middle school students, they don't know how to manage time yet. And that's our job. That's our job, to work hand in hand with the families and really say, like, here's some options. Why don't you try this? It's even like study schedules. Like, hey, maybe maybe index cards work best for you. And for someone else, that might be Cornell notes. So we really partner with the family to say, okay, what does their training schedule look like? What are some times that they can be online? I know that we had, last year he graduated. One of our ballet dancers was dancing for San Francisco Ballet, but on the breaks, he would go back to Australia at home. Well, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, there I was as a principal going through his grad plan. And if he had difficulty with math, his math teacher, she lives on the Eastern Seaboard. So he was meeting with him at 10 p.m. So we make ourselves available based off of our student schedule, not our schedule. We don't work 9 to 5. We are working when our students are working and when they need us.
Wow, that's wonderful. With all that personalized support and just everything available to them. Yeah, that flexible schedule, especially for athletes, I'm sure is really important.
Right. Because you have gymnasts who are probably in the gym at 7 a.m. So if I look, I can see that they're logging on. Some of our gymnasts are logging on at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, other ones a little bit later. And then they only have a small block during lunch to work. And maybe if they're lucky at night. So to really be able to, sit there, see where they're working, and then tell teachers, and teachers are able to see it as well, and then fit in like, okay, Allie, you're struggling with this science project. Let me help you. I know that you're online at these times. Let's make some time. And so, it's worked well for students. Students are going to great colleges and everything because of how successful they've been.
That's wonderful. We're getting some questions in the chat that I would love to ask you about. Tracy's doing a great job of responding, but I think that everyone can benefit from these questions. So the first one is, how much time should students plan to spend a day in classes and doing work, would you say?
I think it depends on what classes that they're taking. So, normally you might have a student might spend an hour in math, for example. Math always seems to be the one that students struggle with the most. So it really depends on that. I would say if they have an English project, that's going to be a little bit longer than maybe a normal day that they're reading. Now, some of the times they might have something to read for English, but it's not online where they're staring at a screen. Maybe it's, read this passage from this book and then they're going on the book. So it really depends on what those students are learning. I would definitely say a lot of our students are probably spending about 4, sometimes 5 hours a day if they have a full course load. So a full course load could be 5 to 6 classes. But other than that, I mean, I've seen some students who are probably sometimes only spending 3 hours on, and then they're training, and then they come back maybe at night for a half hour to submit their work. So again, it really depends on that student. If a student's struggling, I think this is another beautiful thing. If a student's struggling, we can see real time, how long is it taking them to take that test or do that assignment? And that teacher can contact them and say, I noticed it took you a little bit longer on this exam and you didn't score as well, or you stopped taking the test. What can I do to assist you? So again, it's building that relationship, using the innovative tools that we have to catch it before they struggle even further.
Yeah, that's really nice that you have that. Okay. We had another question come in, and the question is, are there any whole class live sessions available?
We do not, because we have international students. So I can't say 9 a.m. or 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because that might be, if I have a family in Kuwait, or, one of our students in Brazil or Germany or England, I can't force them to be online live. What we have been doing is we have a couple clubs/groups. So we have a ballet group and we have a tennis group right now that we've met with them almost as a social hour for them in a way. So I know, like last year, right before the French Open, that was something that we had them all meet. And so they kind of exchanged their schedules so then they can see each other at the French Open. So, and that's something that we're working with right now, because I know that they have another tournament coming up soon. So we do stuff more like that, just because a teacher cannot require, especially because we're a private school and we are offering that flexibility. I cannot have a teacher require them to be online with everybody else at the same time because of different time zones, international.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for answering that. Let's see what else we have. We're going to get back to the chat in just a second, but I want to make sure we run through all of our questions as well. You've already shared a little bit about current and former students and families, but can you share some success stories or testimonials from other families?
Those are my favorite. Absolutely. So I would say I have a few, and I'm going to just kind of do a different spectrums. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a young lady, Lucy, who called me last year and had said that, she needed to graduate. She wanted to graduate. This is probably going to be her last resort. She hadn't done well. She had been struggling in school, and mom got on the phone and mom's like, probably not going to graduate, but we're going to see. This is the last time I, do this. She'll probably just get her GED, but she paid tuition. And I had said to mom on the phone, I said, well, the fact that Lucy called, the light bulb has gone off and Lucy's going to graduate and go to college. And she's like, no. And I said, trust me on this one. I can tell from her voice. And again, she took the initiative to find us and call. She's going to graduate and go to college. Well, needless to say, mom still emails me, sometimes texts me on my personal phone. Lucy is at University of Houston, doing well, straight A's last semester. So she graduated. Mom was crying on the phone when I called her to say, hey, by the way, Lucy's graduating. I'm sending the diploma, everything. They took professional pictures and everything. So that was probably extremely inspiring, because here we had a struggling student who was able to say, I did it. I graduated high school, and prove mom wrong to say, I'm even going to college.
Wow.
And she's been thriving. So that's been awesome. I also have, we've had tennis players who, we currently have one tennis player who graduated last year, full ride scholarship to Vanderbilt. And so she's been doing well at Vanderbilt. We have a few ballet dancers. One ballet dancer is currently now with New York City Ballet, dancing professionally. We have another ballet dancer named Sarah who got accepted. She had applied to USC and the Juilliard School. And last year, I probably at this time had no nails because I was picking my nails, waiting for the Juilliard. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, and she was already like, I think I'm just going to tell USC. And I was like, just wait. And like Mrs. Sutherland, who had written a lot of her letter of recommendations, was like, no, I have a feeling. And sure enough, it came in and we were all celebrating and crying in a Zoom together. And so she's at Juilliard. And the other neat thing about Sarah is Mrs. Sutherland loves to push some of her students a lot and had pushed her to apply for the presidential scholarship. And she ended up being one of the finalists. So she did not win the full scholarship, but she won partial. So it was like so great. So we have teachers who are definitely involved in these students' lives. We're going to push them. We're going to help them with college scholarships, definitely with, applications, all of that stuff. And then the last one I want to talk about, he's a current student and he has just been, Mom and I talk on the phone because he's in Germany right now. So he is 16 years old. He was accepted to a German soccer school to where he had to learn German. Mom was, I was even crying. I was like, you're not my son, Wyatt. And I'm crying because you're going off to Germany. And so he learned German. He learned how to speak fluent German, to which he got credit. We gave him a credit for that. He's playing soccer. He got picked up by an amateur soccer club, and he emailed me today. He is still on track because his ultimate goal is to play with UNC Chapel Hill. So he's still on track grade wise and everything. And his soccer, he said the coach had reached out to him. So that one's been a big one. It's just to watch his adventure, and his journey through not only education. He's a perfectionist, so he wants to make sure, he's getting these A's and he's doing everything well. And the teachers say, like, he's always in communication. How can I do better? So those are just a few of the journeys that we've had.
That is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. That is absolutely incredible.
You're so welcome. I have more. So anytime you want to hear more, you can ask me.
All right, I'm going to pop back over to the chat. Let's see. So someone's asking if her son suffers from mental health and is currently in Primavera. There are days where he can't even log in and assignments will pile up. They do get done, but they really have the whole semester to get caught up. Is it the same at AVA? How does that work?
Ours is a little different. So we have a lot of students like that. We've actually had some students who have come to us from rehab centers. And we've also had some students who've come to us from a clean high school where they failed a drug test, came home, and then they were in rehab while they were still with us, at a residential treatment facility with us, and then coming out and going through stuff. So we've had a lot of students like that. One of the things that we do is we work with the families. So say, for example, your son currently has 5 classes. And like you said, he's having a bad day. He's shutting down. That's a communication piece that, we're talking to the parents. Okay, he's struggling right now. He needs a little break. We might put a pause on those classes. Some of the students, what we've actually done, and this has worked out beautiful, instead of them having those 5 classes, we've broken down, and this is actually what we did with Lucy, break it down to where only focusing on 3 classes. And so finishing up those 3 classes, coming back to those other 2 classes. Or maybe that looks like, with us speaking to the child and the parents, maybe it's you're only focusing on math and science Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then English and social studies Tuesday, Thursday. So we work a lot of different things. If they lose track, there is automatic zeros. We always take them out and they are allowed to go back and redo it. We've given extensions as well, because again, I think the biggest thing with education, and we can all say this as adults, COVID taught us a lot, right? COVID taught us that we have to be flexible. COVID taught us that we all have something going on in our house. And the biggest thing with education is that every student is not going to fit in a circle, a circle hole. Like we are going to have squares, we're going to have diamonds, we're going to have stars. So every student is different. Every student learns differently. And we have to be able, as educators and professionals, to partner with the families in order to ensure that that student's going to be successful. What might be successful to Wyatt going to UNC, Chapel Hill to play soccer is not going to be the same as Lucy. But success, even though it can be defined differently, we can make each one of our students successful. And I mean, I can say that about my own daughters. I've got one who's a test taker, but might struggle with reading. And I have another one who, you know what, this is what she needs. She needs to be here next year as a middle schooler. She needs more hands-on. So definitely, we work with the family hand in hand to see what is best for your child.
Great. Thank you so much. So this is a great question too. My daughter currently is in Primavera and has optional live classes where she can socialize with peers and the teacher. Does AVA offer anything like this to help with socialization and feeling more like a school environment?
Yes, and so we do have some of the clubs, like I said. I know that the language arts teacher right now, she says that she wants to start like a literary club. Math is doing more with that. So we definitely are. Again, it's not something that we can require because we're international, but it is something that we do strive to do. Another thing that I love that we do, you all at Primavera have Strong Mind Central. We set it up almost like a guidance counselor area where, students can come, check in, talk to us, have those social skills. I think a lot of students this generation really struggle with soft skills, and that's something that they need for for college and beyond. And so working with them with that. The other thing that we've done is we've posted over $2 million worth of scholarships. And I'm like the one who's bugging the kiddos like, hey, it's not just for the seniors. Ninth graders can apply too. Like, even if it's 500 here, you might not get this scholarship and maybe you'll get this one. And and the parents love it. The parents are like, this is great. So we do have also where, we've met with families about, colleges and scholarships. And these are some things that you need to do, really honing in on the eighth graders. Like eighth graders, I want you to be looking at this for ninth grade. Ninth graders, you need to be looking at this, talking about PSAT if they want to go to college, talking about trade school, so all of those different things is we've really made it to where this feels like a school. It's not just like, oh, you're online and like a random web. Like you're here with us and we are a family and we work together.
Love it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. That was a great question.
Yes. So you've also touched on this a little bit, but how do I know how my child is doing in class? How is their progress monitored?
That is an awesome question. I love that one. So Strong Mind curriculum is amazing. Strong Mind Central is amazing. You can log in your Observer account. You can see right there. But sometimes I feel data is great if you know how to use it, right? But sometimes data can be overwhelming. And our biggest thing is to have the relationships with the families. So another thing that we add on top of that, so you've got your access to their course to see their progress, to see their feedback, all of that. But what you also have is say, I'm just going to use my daughter's name, Juliana. Say, Juliana, you know what? She's had a bad week. She's struggling. She hasn't been working. Well, she's going to get an email, and you are going to get an email from Mrs. DeLorme, Mrs. Mills, Mrs. Locke, Mrs. Sutherland, maybe Mrs. Johnson, asking, is everything okay? We've noticed that Juliana hasn't logged in. Is there anything we can help with? Is she struggling? You're going to have that. You're also going to have an email from me. You might even have phone calls at first from the teachers before you even get the weekly email. So we are always monitoring. One of the things that I talk to the teachers about, and I'm very big about, again, because we don't get to see them face to face every day, it's very important that we're keeping in constant communication. If you've noticed that Juliana's progress is she works every day, or maybe she's working every Tuesday, Thursday, and then she's not logging on that Tuesday, make that connection right there So then that way we catch it before they fall even further, because we all know, even as adults, sometimes when work starts piling up, instead of like going and diving deep, a lot of people like to retreat, right? And so I don't ever want a student to feel so overwhelmed that I can't catch up. There's no point of me doing this. That is never the case. And so making those connections with the families and saying, I've noticed that Juliana hasn't logged in. Is everything okay? Sometimes they get a nudge from me. So I know, for example, a young lady named Atlas, she always talks about astrology and stuff like that. So one day, it had been a week, I think it had been like 5 days, and the teacher had emailed me, had tried to call mom and Atlas. And so I emailed a little picture of ET, and I said, hey, Atlas, it's Mrs. Hennen. I was afraid you got stuck in the stars. Maybe ET took you away. I just want to make sure you're still back on Earth. And so she emailed back right away, and she was like, Mrs. Hennen, that was great. And you know what? She turned in 5 assignments that Friday. So
There you go.
how it works.
That's so wonderful. Um, so that also kind of leads into what we've been talking about with just, the really incredible personalized support from teachers and how, you go above and beyond at AVA to really help students. But if my child is struggling, how accessible are teachers for extra help or questions?
As long as, I always tell families, we don't have the crystal ball, right? So we have the data that we're given. And again, the curriculum from StrongMind and StrongMind Central are amazing data points, but there's always a story behind that data. And so what we do with that, even though that provides several modifications and accommodations, again, it goes back to that relationship. So if a family's contacting a teacher contacts you, we have this, I'm going to say, rule or expectation that it's within one business day. But as I always preach, if you know that they're online, because we can see when they're online, if you know that they're online and they're asking a question, you need to respond to them right away. And I've never had a complaint where a parent has ever said, like, I couldn't get a hold of the teacher, I couldn't help. Our teachers always make themselves available to their students. I think the one thing about this school, it's not about me. It really is about the teachers, and it is about the students and having the relationships between that. I mean, some of the stories that we've heard, of my teacher knows me more than, my teacher at my regular public school. And so we had a young lady, Hannah, who came to us and was like, oh, I'm going to go and graduate with my school now because all my friends, I've known them since kindergarten. She had called me this summer and she was like, Miss Hennen, guess what? And I was like, what? She's like, I'm staying with Bridge School and which is now American Virtual Academy. She's like, I'm staying with you guys because I want to graduate with you all. And I was like, well, what about your friends? She goes, I can still go to graduation and everything. She was like, my teachers here, and she'd only been with us for 1 year. She's like, my teachers here actually know me better than the private school I've been at my whole entire life. And just that right there. And then the dad and mom sending me separate emails and saying that, I was like, the teachers do, it's in their heart. It's not just because it's an expectation, it's in their heart. And so working with educators who believe in that is, it's a beautiful thing. So that's what makes this a great school, is because our teachers believe in the mission of student success, empowering, partnering, and then letting them achieve that success.
Wonderful. That's so special. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
We had another question come in about ESL programs, and Tracy went ahead and answered, but do we offer speech services and ESL programs?
We do not currently know. I do know that if they are located in Arizona and even some of the other states, like I know Texas just started their ESA and that won't be available till next year, the 26-27 school year. But like if you're in like South Carolina or Arkansas or New Hampshire and stuff like that, they do offer extra support and stuff like that. So those ESA fundings do offer that. But we currently, as of right now, do not offer any ESL support.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you for answering that.
You're welcome.
Jessica is asking if I wanted my son to attend AVA during 7th to 8th grade and potentially transition back to a public school, would he be able to do that if he wanted to?
Absolutely. So we have some students who do that where they're with us middle school or elementary school, middle school, and then go on to a regular school, whether it's IMG Academy for sports or just the local high school. Because we're accredited through Cognia, which used to be advanced ed, and we have the NCAA approved courses, which doesn't really hit middle school, but maybe he's an eighth grader. Say he's a go-getter and he's taking algebra 1 and he's taking, the physical science or biology. So if he's taking those courses, because of the accreditation, they have to accept those courses. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. And actually, I want to interrupt. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
do want to say this. That is probably one of the biggest things parents are not, it's not advertised to parents enough when they're looking for online schools. Make sure that they're going to an accredited school, because of the fact we had one student who almost lost a full ride golf scholarship because the online school was not accredited and did not have NCAA approved courses. That would have been like $400,000 to $500,000 worth of scholarships. And so, what we had to do is we had to work with the school to look at their syllabus and their coursework to see what we can accept and have him. I mean, the poor kid had to redo some courses. So, and that's not the parents' fault because parents don't understand that. But that is something, whether they're in middle school and you want them to go to high school or they're in high school, really make sure you're looking at that accreditation. That's super, super important.
Okay, great. Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
How do you accommodate different learning styles at AVA?
Oh, great question. I think that's what we do every single day. Every student has a different story. So again, with Strong Mind curriculum, they already have some modifications and accommodations in there. So I have a couple students, for example, that have dyslexia. Wyatt is one of them. And he uses, so Strong Mind has where it reads to them and you can highlight. So he's using that. I've got other students. I'm trying to think of like some of the modifications that we've done. Some of it's like, again, number of courses. It might be extended time. The one beautiful thing is we don't time test. I think that's something that a lot of students, I know, like my youngest Juliana, who will be with us, time test. She does not work well under pressure, whereas my eldest can. So that is another beautiful thing. We do allow students to retake, which is, super important for some students. So we're allowing that. Sometimes teachers will work with the student and family. Maybe they're not doing a whole test. Maybe they're doing 75% of that test or 70% of that test, like taking some of the questions out. The biggest thing for us is making sure that we meet those standards, right? Because we are accredited. So we want to make sure that student knows those standards. But a lot of it is, again, is working with the families to say like, okay, what do they need? What's going to work for them? I mean, we had one student a couple of years ago, Charles. We tried about 2 different things before we saw like, okay, this is what's going to work for him. Oh, I have Trey who lives in Hawaii, and Trey has been, once we put him on trimesters and he's only taking 2 courses at a time, and he finishes less than 12 weeks. He's always finishing within like 9 to 10 weeks. But just the fact that he's able to focus only on 2 classes at a time, we've seen his grades go from C's and D's to all A's and B's, and he's understanding it. He's able to have conversations about it. And like his mom's like, he's a totally different person. So again, it is really working with the families to make sure like, is this going to work? Because it might not work for every single student. So just giving them options and saying, let's try something. If this doesn't work for a couple of weeks, we could do something else.
Great. Another question came through. You've talked a lot about the older grades. What is the workload like for the younger grades? My daughter will be going into 3rd grade and currently spends about 4 to 5 hours a day between the optional live classes, online work, and paperwork.
That's a great question. So I would say our elementary school students they're definitely not, and it's probably because of the way our families are as well. They're definitely not spending 4 to 5 hours online. If anything, maybe some days 4, but I would say barely. I'd say 3 at most. And it's just because, so like our families are very much into, they're in elementary school. We want to go to an art museum. We want to go take a picnic. We want to go on a trip. All those types of learning that they do outside of the classroom are very huge. And so sometimes what that might look like is for a science class, what the elementary school teacher might do is like, oh, okay, well, here we're learning about life science and this is about leaves and stuff like that. What she does for some of our families is create assignments that they can bring in as projects. Like, hey, we went because we have, and again, it's all about conversation with those families, right? So what is each family doing? We have one family, she plays tennis. And so really changing her schedule so she's not online because she needs to be playing tennis. And she's a 5th grader, so she'll be a 6th grader next year. So like with our 2nd and 3rd graders, I would say the biggest thing is the reading and focusing on the reading with them and the math. And then those social studies and science, that's where sometimes we're able to manipulate some of the assignments and create projects, hands-on projects, so they're not having to sit there with that screen time.
Yeah.
Okay. And I will say that because I have an elementary school student, screen time is a fight. Yeah. So that is something that is near and dear, to me, is just, I don't want our kiddos sitting around there. So so we definitely do that. And again, we're working with the families. Our elementary school teacher is great at working with the families and saying like, okay, how does this work? One of our elementary school families is actually in Kuwait. And so she meets with them to make sure she's going over Darius's reading because he's in 2nd grade and that's like huge.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tracy's in there just on fire answering
I know, I see the chat like going on. I'm like, what am I missing?
She's got it. She's got it. So coming from Primavera, is the ESA going to cover the full tuition?
Yes. We have students already in the state of Arizona who use their ESA funding for our tuition.
Wonderful. And do you offer advanced placement courses at AVA?
Absolutely, yes. So we have, for our high school students, we have several advanced placement options. I'm particularly excited that next year we will have AP Psychology, since that was my minor. So yes.
Wonderful. And what is the enrollment process like? And can we start in September if we wanted to?
Absolutely. So the best thing that I could say about the enrollment process would be you're going to go to AmericanVirtualAcademy.com. And there you will see under, actually, I will go to it right now. I think it'll be enroll. And you will click on that. And then there will be a little form for you to fill out. And once you fill out that form, you will get a phone call from our awesome head of partnership, Brad. He will contact you and then just let you know. So a lot of times what we're asking for is obviously birth certificate and then parent driver's license or passport. And then from there, if they're in high school, we're going to need a transcript. If they're in middle school, I like to look at the transcript just to make sure. And again, like with the middle school students in particular, that's where that conversation is vitally important. And I would even say elementary school, because our 5th grader, who's going to be a 6th grader, she should actually be a 4th grader. But having that conversation with the parents, it was like, this is too easy. Let's bump her up a grade. So being able to have those conversations to say like, you know what, we want to take honors, or he's in 8th grade, we want him to do algebra 1. We want him to try algebra 1. If he struggles with it, we can bump him back to pre-algebra. So Brad's great about getting it all started. If you all need to speak to me in terms of academics, what courses, that's where I play in. And then from there, we have rolling enrollment or continuous enrollment. I have some students, because of tennis, they start in late September, not even right after Labor Day. It's late September. And then we have ballet dancers, because they have Nutcracker that starts right after Halloween. So they're starting in early July. So whenever you want to start, you still have 18 weeks. It's not where you're starting and having to catch up to where everyone is. It is your child's journey once they are enrolled in that class.
Okay, great. We have a few questions about ESA. If a family does not get approved for ESA, can you private pay, and what are the costs if so?
Yes, so we have some students who do not use ESA funding at all, and they're private paying. It all depends on the amount of classes that you're taking, and then if they're honors. So a lot of times, like with our elementary school families, they might take 4 or 5 classes. So that would be from $2,000 to $2,500 a semester. So say $4,000 to $5,000 for the whole year. And then we have high schoolers who are anywhere from 5 classes to 6 classes. So that would be 2,500 to 3,000 for the semester, or again, up to 6,000 for the year. We have payment plans. So there's different options that we do. I know I will be on a payment plan for my child. So yeah. So and I'll have to pay out of pocket. So that's one thing that we do have families that pay out of pocket. And then we have other families like North Carolina, where Wyatt's from, they don't even have ESA funding. So they're paying out of pocket. And then our international families are paying out of pocket. And then I have other families who are with the ESA funding.
Great.
And we work, I would say this also, we work with the families to make sure that if this is something that you want, that we're making sure that we can, fit your budget.
Okay. And Tracy went ahead and popped in the chat as well, the full tuition details. So you can grab that link there if you need it for more. Tiffany's asking, I'm not 100% familiar with ESA, just heard about it for the first time through Primavera. Does every child qualify?
I think every child, I'm actually going to I'll put it in the chat. And the only reason why I have this page up is because I was on the phone with a family today about it.
Perfect. And Tracy's saying we could support you through the ESA process to help with the application as well.
Right.
Yes. Yep. Tiffany's saying.
Yes, Arizona, I would say this. For all the Arizona families, Arizona has the best ESA program. And for my Texas family who's here, Texas already said that they're modeling their ESA program after Arizona's, which it's beautiful. It's like there's like no bumps and hiccups and stuff like that. So it works well. I mean, I've never had a family complain about it. So and I've never heard of anyone being denied either.
Well, those are all of the questions I have for you. If anyone has any other questions that are coming through, please feel free to pop them in the chat. Kerri is here with us for a Q&A, so we can answer more. Is there anything else, Kerri, that's coming to mind that we haven't touched on that you would like to share?
I'm trying to think.
You've covered so much.
A lot. Yeah.
We hit a lot.
I think the ESA is a big question because a lot of states are obviously moving to that. And I do talk a lot about the high school students. I think that's just because I have a high schooler and I was a high school teacher. But yeah, we have elementary school families. Like I said, Mrs. DeLorme is on Zoom with our family in Kuwait, and some of our other families. Our tennis player, she travels from Spain to Guatemala to Florida. So we meet their time zones, we meet where they are. I think another great thing about the flexibility, especially with the younger students, is if you all want to travel as a family, it's really easy for us as teachers to move assignments. So maybe they have a Monday through Thursday schedule, or maybe it's Tuesday through Friday schedule because you're traveling. And just, again, that constant communication, because that's what we do with our ballet dancers sometimes, where they'll be like, we had to have an extra nutcracker rehearsal or spring recital rehearsal. Moving assignments around so a student doesn't go in there and feel like, oh my goodness, I'm behind, I've got all these zeros. And so having that flexibility, but that flexibility is because of that partnership, with the families.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I just want to echo what Tracy is saying as well, that Brad is wonderful. He is an integral part of our team. He is on with us right now, and he is happy to speak with anyone else who wants to follow up. And if you have any other questions, Brad is the go-to, and you can ask him as well. And for more information, of course, you can visit our website, americanvirtualacademy.com. Feel free to reach out to us. Sonia just said, my son will be going to the 3rd grade. I am just waiting to receive the transcript. I already requested it from his current school. Can I submit his enrollment application for AVA without his transcript, or should I wait?
You can definitely submit it without it. Like I said, most of the time the transcripts are for high school. That's where we need for the graduation requirement. With elementary school families, that's where we're having that conversation of, what do you want him to do if he's going into 3rd grade or if he's going into 4th grade. So 4th grade might look like more reading and stuff like that. So yeah, and you can always submit it after. We have a lot of families who do that.
Okay, great. Thank you. How easy is it to get a 0? Is it a week to finish assignments or day to day?
So some classes, I would say math might have more assignments, like where it's like 1 or 2 a day. And then like you have social studies and English, that's like a whole week before they have an assignment. So I think it all depends on what content it is. But that's where it gives an automatic 0, and we have shut it off for certain students. So Tiffany, for example, if this was something that you were interested in, that was a conversation that you and I would have, to where we're shutting off the automatic 0s, because this is what we do for our ballet dancers. Like our ballet dancers, if they have a 0, I will get a lot of phone calls that day, and it'll be like 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we shut off the 0s for them. They don't get automatic 0s. So that is something absolutely we can do, and we've done it for other students as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, does anyone else have any questions? Yeah, you're welcome.
Welcome, Tiffany.
Yeah, thanks for being here with us. Thank you everyone for joining. You had so many wonderful questions. Okay, this is a great one. Will Bridge and AVA be separate schools, or are they merging?
They're officially one.
You're officially one. So yeah. Great question. Yes.
Super excited about that.
Yes. And hence, why we're also doing this webinar, to introduce AVA and to make them one. Yeah. Well, Kerri, you have provided so much incredible information. Thank you so much. I feel like
I love the questions. Thank you.
Yeah, we have such a better idea of American Virtual Academy, how it is just personalized, fully online, accredited, how it can serve students, just how the teachers go above and beyond for that personalized care, socialization. I feel like we covered so many different topics, ESA. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. So I feel like we all have such a better idea of AVA. And again, we would love to have you. We would love to see you. We would love to support you. So please go ahead and visit our website, americanvirtualacademy.com. You can follow us on socials. We're on social media as well.